Should we buy or sell the Avalanche cryptocurrency? So first off, read this disclaimer carefully. Then do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. So I have actually not analyzed this crypto before, so this will be interesting. Here is their website, Avalanche Multiverse. Welcome to Multiverse. The Avalanche Foundation launches an incentive program focused on accelerating the adoption and growth of its novel subnets, the premier scaling solution for Web 3D apps. Yeah, definitively a very interesting project. So let's just jump right into the charts. These are weekly data points, a very big picture. You could certainly make a case that this looks like something around about here. We do have a double bottom. It's not like a textbook double bottom, but it is double bottom-ish, and we are seeing some low behavior forming. So if we go here to the daily data points, then you can see that this looks like what could become a rounding bottom, and that is very nice to see when you have a double bottom. So this is definitively one to have on our radar. The key resistance level in play at the moment is this 50-day moving average here and here. Definitively a level where the bears put on their short positions, but we are emerging from a low level, and the more sophisticated bears will be intimidated by that, because not that long back, the bears could short the 20-day, make money, and then all of a sudden you see that the 20-day started to become more of a bounce level here for the bulls, and now the bulls have basically taken over the 20-day moving average. So there is some change here that is favorable to the bulls. So this is definitively on my bull radar. Technically, we are emerging from an oversold weekly RSI level. When we go here to the daily data points, significant improvement here in MACD. RSI is establishing higher levels. So previous levels that were fail levels on RSI have now become, we've just broken out above it, so that is interesting. Also here on the 20-day PBO, well, we are currently pulling back from the same level we pulled back from during this rally, so that is a bit but overall this is interesting. So here are my notes. So we do have a 50 daily moving average resistance in play at this point. So what I will do is that I will -2. So I do give the bears here a -2. The reason why the bears don't get a higher score is that, yes, we do have 50 daily moving average resistance, but on the long-term radar, we have a double bottom and a rounding bottom. Those are definitively very bullish. They are a bit more longer term, so the short-term picture is slightly bearish, but there is some very constructive action, and if the bulls were able to smash through the 50 daily moving average, that would be very spooky to the bears. So to the right here, we simply do not have enough data to calculate seasonality. To the left, we do have, some data. July, August, September are extremely bullish based on the very limited data we have. I will give the bulls a 2 here on seasonality, but the reason why they only get a 2, notwithstanding 100% bullish seasonality, it's because we have so little data. The more data you have, the more informed of a decision you can make. But yeah, just too little data. But yeah, bullish. Fundamentals, there are no fundamentals in the crypto land that are predictive of future price action. Let's look at relative performance. We start with weekly data points and we do not get anything. So we go to the dailies. 93% positive correlation with the S&P 500, 96% here with Bitcoin, 72% with gold, and minus 84% here with the dollar index. So what happens with Bitcoin is going to have an effect on Avalanche. It's not really a good name for a cryptocurrency, Avalanche. It's sort of like you instantly get the image of something falling down. But yeah. So here is Bitcoin weekly data point, and we are very firmly below the 200-week moving average. This is why you should not lose support levels. So yeah, the 200-week is clearly bearish, and we surgically saw rejection. What I see that is a bit bullish-ish is that the last 3 weeks we have been moving sideways. So when we go here to the daily data points, you can see that sideways action. So that is a bit constructive, but it doesn't change from the fact that as long as we are below the 200-week, it is too easy for the bears to put on a short position at that resistance level and have the stops a bit above it. So yeah. The problem for the bears, though, is that we are emerging from a very low level on the RSI and the PPOs here on the weeklies. MACD is also pretty extremely bearish. So it's risky as well to be short at these kinds of readings. Looking at the daily data points, we are approaching a very important level here on RSI. The previous times we were up there, we saw pullbacks. So this is a very important level here for the bulls. This is where they have to show that this is not simply a bounce, but this is something more serious. PPO is also here, at least the 20-day PPO. We are literally at the levels that formed these previous peaks. Here is the relationship between Avalanche and Bitcoin. And we do see that Avalanche is outperforming Bitcoin now, so that's interesting. So let's look at the seasonality. What does it say? And here on the daily data points, we can actually draw in an interesting technical pattern here before we look at the seasonality. We have an inverse head and shoulders pattern, which is bullish. So that is interesting. So yeah, well, we don't get any seasonality data, but yeah, like that. Okay, here is Bitcoin against gold, and we have underperformed gold very substantially for quite some time. We are seeing a bit of a bounce. If we zoom in here, we are emerging from an extremely low level in this pair. We usually see higher levels here for Bitcoin, meaning it outperforming gold. So we are very much due a reversal in this pair, which would be beneficial for Bitcoin. Looking at the seasonality over the last 5 years in green and 7 years in blue, the 10th of July usually form a bit of a low here in this pair, meaning we expect Bitcoin to begin to outperform gold. Technically speaking, we also have something that looks a bit breakout-ish here. You can see we are breaking out above these levels. And if we look here at the RSIs, we are not yet at levels that have previously triggered pullbacks, but we are close. So this is similar to what we saw with Avalanche. We now need to see commitment from the bulls. So I will give the bulls here a 4 on relative performance. They have a good opportunity. So we do end up with a score here of 1.3. So the data is more bullish than bearish. But the caveat is that the critical, most important signal currently is the 50 daily moving average, and it is a resistance level. But if we are to break above it, then that would be very constructive, because the best thing that can happen to the bulls is that resistance level break. And the opposite, of course, is very good for the bears. They want support levels to break. So yeah, we have some time left. So let's look at some, of the key cryptocurrencies. Here is Ethereum. Weekly data points. The 200-week moving average is more. There's some more constructive action at that level here. You see that we have been peaking above that resistance level now, so that's very interesting. It could become self-reinforcing and benefit the bulls. What we see here is that the bulls had problems with the 20-day moving average here in purple, but then they showed some confidence and commitment, and now they have quite firmly turned it into a support level. That doesn't make the bears panic, but it makes the bears a bit more cautious. It starts to be because all big moves, they start small. And if you wait until, let's say that you have like some idea that, I'm going to turn bullish on Ethereum when we are above the 200 daily moving average and it is sloping upward. You're probably going to miss a very big move if you wait until all of the things improve. So that's the bit of the issue when it comes to being involved in the financial markets, is that you have to make bullish decisions when you don't have all the bullish data. You also have to turn bearish when things aren't like blatantly bearish, because when things are too bearish, that is when lows tend to form. So yeah. Ethereum, what about Monero? Some time since I have looked at Monero. What if we take index like that? So where is the US dollar? So this is a bit silly. So I wrote Monero index and I got, the dollar here on the bottom. So that is a mediocre search engine. So here again, the 200-week moving average in red, it is a very big deal. Support, super buyable here as well, but we see that we are below it. So yes, it is resistance for Monero. Here is Litecoin weekly data points. This is a rather interesting level, because if we draw the line, you see that it is possible to short this level and be profitable, but you see here that ever since late 2017, this level has been more buyable than shortable. That's the thing. So if we measure a bit here, the maximum profit for a bear during this time period has been minus 56%. That is decent, of course, but within this time frame, the biggest profit for a bull was 697. Well, actually, all the way up to 708 if we measure that high here from 2017. So yeah, this is definitely an interesting level, and you can also see. So let me draw it in. This looks a lot like a double bottom, potentially very bullish. So Litecoin definitely showing some price action that it is spooky for the bears. Here is a Riot blockchain, which is a stock, and we do see some a familiar chart pattern here. It looks a bit double bottom-ish. If we go to the daily data points, then you could make a pretty strong case that this looks like a rounding bottom. And on the topic of moving averages, let me draw it in like that and like that. So this purple 20-day moving average, good for the bears, but we have now broken out above it in a bit of a confident way. So this is definitely interesting. A major topic in the news has certainly been Voyager Digital, that has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That is very bad. So yeah, it is a very messy situation for this company. It is important to just be aware that it's not. There have been bankruptcies that have had some saviors come in towards the end. Whether that happens to Voyager is all about whether the liabilities can sort of be removed from some kind of deal. Here is a Coinbase. When we go here to the daily data points, the 20-day moving average, here again, it is obviously a moving average that matters because it keeps repeating itself. Resistance, but now we are breaking out above it in a solid way. You can see that on the last trading day, when we went down here, we tested it as support surgically. So we definitively have some interesting price action in the crypto landscape. So yes, the 50 daily moving average is still resistance for Avalanche, but the bulls have an opportunity now. That is reflected with the 1.3 score here in favor of the bulls.